Thousands of years separate the ancient eras of the Silmarillion from the events of The Lord of the Rings. Given that massive stretch of time, you would expect society to naturally experience an industrial revolution, yet the people of this world remain completely reliant on forged swords, chainmail, and horses. This frozen state is widely dismissed as a massive plot hole or a quirk of fantasy writing. The actual history reveals a far more brutal economic reality. Middle-earth actually did possess highly advanced technology. The problem is that every time they made progress, it was violently erased. To understand why, we have to look at the economics of survival. Innovation requires a massive surplus of time, energy, and resources, a surplus a society can only afford when it isn't actively fighting off extinction. Middle-earth operates as a world systematically stripped of its capacity to move forward. Take the island kingdom of Númenor during the Second Age. This society represented the absolute peak of human ingenuity. The Númenorians engineered colossal ships capable of crossing oceans and forged weaponry with a destructive power that completely dwarfed anything available in the era of Frodo and Aragorn. Then, their entire island was swallowed entirely by the sea overnight. Every master builder, every schematic, and centuries of institutional memory vanished beneath the water. Humanity was forced back to square one. The few survivors washed ashore in Middle-earth and founded the new kingdoms of Arnor and Gondor, desperately trying to reconstruct the lost glory of their ancestors. This chart tracks the base for innovation versus the burden of defense. Watch how securing borders against Sauron's constant wars crushes resources for discovery. The Northern Kingdom was destroyed entirely, while Gondor suffered devastating plagues and endless invasions. When a civilization spends generations absorbing constant, catastrophic damage, its entire economy hardens into a desperate war machine. The budget for scientific discovery simply drops to zero. This technological erasure was a systemic, global phenomenon. The dwarves were master engineers, but their deep, subterranean kingdoms became targets. One by one, their greatest cities were overrun by ancient horrors, like Balrogs and dragons. Losing a stronghold like Moria or Erebor meant losing vital industrial infrastructure, intricate supply chains, massive blast forges, and irreplaceable mithril mines were completely wiped right off the board. The elves faced a completely different mechanism of societal erasure. Tired of the endless warfare, they slowly began abandoning Middle-earth, sailing west in a permanent migration. This map illustrates the dual nature of this collapse. Across the mountains, dwarven industry is violently extinguished. On the western shores, we see a literal brain drain. The most advanced scientific minds packed up and walked out of the world. With humanity bankrupt from centuries of attrition, dwarven industry occupied by monsters, and elven intellect fleeing the continent, the engine of global progress was completely dismantled. The era of the Ring must be viewed through this specific historical lens. Middle-earth is a deeply traumatized, post-apocalyptic landscape, trapped in a desperate cycle of regression. Technological advancement is an extreme luxury. It requires peace, stability, and generations of uninterrupted focus. The brutal math of this world allows for none of that. Fending off a Dark Lord and surviving continuous waves of monstrous armies consumes 100% of a society's gross domestic product. There is no surplus left to trigger an industrial awakening. It takes an awe-inspiring level of resilience for these fractured societies to even stay on their feet against those odds. The continuous presence of functional armor, forged steel weapons, and towering stone cities stands as a breathtaking miracle of human, dwarven, and elven endurance.